The aggressor country, Russia, mainly replenishes its budget by selling oil. The US has already increased pressure on countries that still buy this natural resource from Russia. Thus, Russia may be left with nothing. Political and economic expert Taras Zagorodniy stated this in an interview with Glavred. According to him, in addition to oil and gas, Russians have another source of income: fertilizers. But Ukraine has already begun to hit the chemical industry of the Russian Federation, so there will also be questions about fertilizers. In essence, Russia has no other source of income. It lived off the sale of oil and gas. But the key market for the Russian Federation, the European market, has been lost. The Americans are already there, the expert noted. Under such conditions, it seems that Russia will not be able to fight against Ukraine for a long time. However, this depends not only on the income of the aggressor country. Zagorodniy explained that the US may be preparing new surprises for Putin. In addition, the Ukrainian military will continue to strike at the Russian Federation. If, for example, they manage to paralyze the Russian railway for a week, then we can assume that a catastrophe will begin for Moscow. And then Ukraine can suddenly launch an offensive where Russian troops can do nothing. So there are many factors, and they depend primarily on Ukraine. Zagorodniy explained. Recall, recently drones attacked several Russian regions targeting a chemical plant. The plant, Nevinomysky Azot, is a major Russian chemical manufacturer and part of the Eurochem Group, is one of the country's leading producers of nitrogen, fertilizers and ammonia. The plant is located in Stavropol Krai, a region in southern Russia that lies roughly 250 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, placing it within the potential range of long-distance drone strikes. The chemical plant, which supplies nitric acid used in the production of high explosives such as oxygen and hexogen, key components in artillery shells, has come under drone attack for the second time in 2 months. Earlier, suicide drones reportedly targeted the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant in Russia's Moscow region, a facility deeply embedded in the Russian defense industrial complex, confirmed Andriy Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation. In the Moscow region, the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant was struck. This facility produces explosives, gunpowder, and components for munitions and missile systems, Kovalenko stated. It is a critical link in the supply chain providing Russia's army with artillery shells, MLRS munitions, and ballistic missiles.
President Donald Trump said Monday he'll know, within the first 2 minutes, of his meeting Friday with Russian President Vladimir Putin whether a deal can be made on ending the war in Ukraine. According to Associated Press, Trump told reporters in the White House briefing room that in the Alaska meeting, he will review Putin's parameters to end the war with Ukraine. Trump also said he can see a scenario where the US and Russia normalize trade relations if things go well at his meeting with Putin later this week. As for the prospect of progress at that meeting, he says, "I think it'll be good, but it might be bad."
So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders Right after the meeting, yeah. And I'm going to tell him what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal should be made for both. I think Russia has to get back into building their country. It's a massive country. But I got a call that they'd like to meet, and I'm going to see what they want to meet about. I'd like to see a ceasefire. I'd like to see the best deal that could be made for both parties. You know, it takes two to tango, right? So ultimately, I'll have a meeting next week. I had a great relationship with him, considering the fact that, you know, I was not nice to him because of the pipeline. I ended the pipeline. But I'm going to meet with President Putin, and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders, and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first, and then I'll call them after. And I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say we can make a deal.
If not,
I will tell you this, I've seen a poll coming out of Ukraine. 88% of the people would like to see a deal made. And if you go back 3 years, everybody was gung-ho for war. You know, everybody's gung-ho for war until you have it.
Yeah, just to follow up on what you were saying there. First of all, Volodymyr Zelensky is not invited on Friday?
He wasn't a part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. You know, he's been there for 3.5 years, nothing happened.
And what is the definition?
I mean, do you want somebody that's been doing this for 3.5 years? What's the definition of a good deal? I'll tell you after I hear what the deal is. Because there could be many definitions. You know, you're talking about a very large and complex situation. Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made.
How will you know that?
Because that's what I do. I make deals.
Yeah,
please, go ahead.
Do you see a time, Mr. President, when there could be normal trade between the U.S. and Russia? Should your meeting go well, should there be peace?
I do, yeah. Russia has a very valuable piece of land. If Vladimir Putin would go toward business instead of toward war, you know, it's a warring nation. That's what they do. They fight a lot of wars. A friend of mine said Russia's tough because they just keep on fighting. They beat Hitler, so did we. And they beat Napoleon. You know, they've been doing this for a long time. I asked a question to a very, very smart man that some people like and some people don't like. Viktor Orban, right? From Hungary, the head of Hungary. And he's in that same area and knows the two countries very well. I said, this was before Biden didn't do anything to get us out of it. He could have gotten us out of that. It would have never happened. I said, so can Russia be beaten by Ukraine? He looked at me like, what a stupid question. He said, Russia's a massive country, and they win their country, and they win their life through wars. They fight wars. That's what they do. He said, China beats you with trade. Russia beats you with war. That was a very interesting statement.